Good Sunday morning, and it's time for Sunday school. Sunday school with kindly old Mr. Long. He wants to talk about death today. Yes, today is the anniversary of the passing of Aleister Crowley, Edward Alexander Crowley, on this date in 1947. By my calculation, I think that's 77 years ago today. I wrote a couple things about it, but mostly I just want to sort of address the Thelemites' view of death, but I can't, because the thing is, each individual Thelemite probably has a sort of different angle on death, physical death, and what it means in the greater scheme of one's own personal evolutionary adventure. Many of us believe in a form of reincarnation. I could say that I do, in so much as I, have thought impressions and what appear to be memories of being a center of consciousness in another time and another place. I think we all probably do. And that sort of could be like what some people view as reincarnation, but I don't really think it's that cut and dried. Okay, it's not like when I pass away, a smoky thing, invisible smoky thing, my soul, floats off and goes to some cosmic waiting room. Waiting around for an appointment with two people who are making love. Yeah. If you take time out of the equation, it doesn't have to work that way. If you take time out of the equation, there really isn't a past incarnation or a future incarnation. There's only a nowness that all of this takes place of. And it's really hard for us to wrap our meat brains around that jump, that dimensional jump, where all of that can be happening simultaneously and still, in a sense, make sense. But as death is a freaky thing, and we are attached to those we love. It goes right down to the other sentient beings that we love, our pets, our dogs, our cats. Well, we mourn, we fear their deaths because they will be taken from us. And we fear our own death because many of us have been programmed by the torments of a life after death if we've been naughty. And all of us feel naughty deep down inside. I don't know why. Okay. I've tried to drop a whole bunch of naughtiness identity in my life, but I've been a big enough asshole my whole life to admit that, or at least speculate that some eternal misfortune happened because I was an asshole in this particular situation or another. But I really don't think that. I don't think Crowley did either. But over his long writing career, he said and wrote uh, many different things from many different angles concerning the subject. We just know and must all admit that death, the thought of death, is a fearful thing. It's a fearful background meditation, a perpetual background meditation of fear, dread, uncertainty. And this idea of the fear part of it is really important to the magician, because the magician practices a spiritual art and science whereby fear has a negative impact on our work. Now, Rabbi Ben Clifford always said it's better to be possessed by a demon than to be ignored by him. But this is what I wrote at the very beginning of my Low Magic book. It's a sad fact, at least from my perspective, that not everyone who picks up this book and thumbs through it will end up buying it. It's also true that not everyone who buys it and takes it home will read it cover to cover. So just in case these opening remarks are the only words you will read from this book, I'm going to immediately exploit this fleeting moment we have together and impart to you in large uppercase letters the most important secret of magic and of life. Do not be afraid. Don't get me wrong, it's good to be cautious. It's good to be wise. It's good to be measured and thoughtful in all your actions and behavior. But fear is poison to your magic practice and poison to your life. Please know that I'm not preaching this gospel from the fearlessness from the marble pulpit of righteousness and courage. On the contrary, I'm shouting it from the pasteboard megaphone of my own ignoble and cowardly character. Okay. Fear is failure and the forerunner of failure, as the neophyte in the Golden Dawn hears very, very early in his or her initiatory career. Crowley, in his Rite of Saturn, gathers together melancholy poems that are read so that the audience will enjoy the poetry, but it will plunge them into a melancholy mood and a thoughtful Saturnian, or at least a level of Saturnian introspection. And he ends with a poem, and it's a poem that is featured in a lot of Crowley's work, initiatory work, precisely for that reason. And it's not one of Crowley's poems. It's a poem by James Thompson called the City of Dreadful Night. But in its lyrical ode to fruitless love and aimless toil, ending in death, he also has a magic insight that Crowley wanted to get across at the very, very end of this Rite of Saturn, as Saturn is dethroned from number 3 on the Tree of Life. And the next rite will be Jupiter below the abyss in a macrocosmic ordered world that we're used to. So this is sort of Saturn's last woe is me, which is joy to you, sort of kind of. When Caliph Hymenaeus Alpha 777, Grady McMurtry, passed away in 1985, he had an awesome and very colorful funeral in San Francisco at the Oddfellows Crematorium or Mausoleum, and it was quite a show because every Thelemite that could make it to the funeral all had a little something to say. And I was asked to speak toward the last, and this is all I said before his body, magnificently arrayed in his Saladin and his turban, and it was awesome. I read Atalanta in Caledon. Hang on just a second. It's in here somewhere. Well, if I can't find it, I'll read what somebody else has said. Let's see. I thought it was the Rite of Saul. I believe it is. Hang on. Before the beginning of years, there came to the making of man time with a gift of tears, grief with a glass that ran, pleasure with pain for leaven, summer with flowers that fell, remembrance fallen from heaven and madness risen from hell. Strength without hands to smite, love that endures for a breath, with life before and after, and death beneath and above. For a day and a night and a morrow, that his strength might endure for a span, with travail and heavy sorrow, the Holy Spirit of man. From the winds of the north and south they gathered as unto strife. They breathed upon his mouth, they filled his body with life. Eyesight and speech they wrought for the veils of the soul therein, a time to labor in thought, a time to serve and to sin. They gave him light in his ways and love, and beauty and length of days and night, and sleep in the night. His speech is a burning fire. With his lips he travaileth, with his heart is a blind desire, in his eyes foreknowledge of death. He weaves and is clothed with derision, sows, and he shall not reap. His life is a watch or a vision between asleep and asleep. Now I'm sure I left out a little hunk of that somewhere, but that's the best I can do off the top of my head. someone else. And I don't know who, or I don't know if it was actually written out on a little paper that was uh, passed around at the funeral. But it's another thing, and this time it was from the rite of Saturn, and it was this from the City of Dreadful Night. Oh, the Atalanta and Caledon was by Swinburne. And this is the James Thomas. Oh, melancholy brothers, dark, dark, dark. Oh, battling in black floods without an ark. Oh, spectral wanderers of unholy night. My soul hath bled for you these sunless years, with bitter blood drops running down like tears. Oh, dark, 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 withdrawn from joy and light. My heart is sick with anguish for your bale. Your woe hath been my anguish, yea, I quail and perish in your perishing, unblessed. And I have searched the heights and depths, the scope of all our universe, with desperate hope to find some solace for your wild unrest. And now at last, authentic word I bring, witnessed by every dead and living thing. Good tidings of great joy for you, for all. There is no God. No fiend with names divine made us and tortures us. If we must pine, it is to satiate no being's gall. It was the dark delusion of a dream, that living person, conscious and supreme, whom we must curse for cursing us with life, whom we must curse because the life he gave could not be buried in the quiet grave, could not be killed by poison or by the knife. This little life is all we must endure. The grave's most holy peace is ever sure. We fall asleep and never wake again. Nothing is of us but of the mouldering flesh, whose elements dissolve and merge afresh in earth, air, water, plants, and other men. We finish thus, and all our wretched race shall finish with its cycle and give place to other beings with their own time doom. Infinite aeons ere our kind began, infinite aeons after the last man hath joined the mammoth in earth's tomb and womb. We bow down to universal laws, which never had for man a special clause of cruelty or kindness, love or hate. If toads and vultures are obscene to sight, if tigers burn with beauty and with might, is it by favor or by wrath of fate? All substance lives and struggles evermore through countless shapes, continually at war, by countless interactions interknit. If one is born a certain day on earth, all times and forces tended to that birth. Not all the world could change or hinder it. I find no hint throughout all the universe of good or ill, of blessing or of curse. I find alone necessity supreme, with infinite mystery, abysmal, dark, unlighted, ever by the faintest spark. For us, the flitting shadows of a dream. Oh, brothers of sad lives, they are so brief. A few short years must bring us all relief. Can we not bear these years of laboring breath? But if you would not this poor life fulfill, lo, you're free to end it when you will, without the fear of waking after death. Well, that's a little overboard. I love that things, all substance lives and struggles evermore through countless shapes continually at war. Those Kabbalists amongst us will recognize the fact that in the sequence of creation, that starts with zero and then goes to the three mother letters for up, down, right, left, but then the seven planetary spheres, but then there's the 12 spheres, which on a cube would be like the edges, okay, zodiac sign edges of the cube, and their nature, the nature of the simple letters of the Hebrew alphabet, is war. They combat with each other. Continual shapes continually at war. So I'm sure Crowley caught that too. Constance said, well, if you're going to talk about Crowley's death, why don't you say something that he would like to hear? And in 1907, Crowley, I think it was his collected works. Okay, he published the collected works. This is just 3 years after the Book of the Law, and just sort of at the beginning of the thelemic part of his career. And he wrote these wonderful collections of poems, some awesome and some I have to say I can't appreciate as much as the next person. But anyway, when he published this 3-volume set of his collected works, he put an ad out in a paper or something, a review contest. And I don't know, the winner was going to get 50 pounds or something like that, for the best review of Crowley's thing. Well, JFC Fuller, Captain Fuller at the time, had been a Crowley poetry fan for years and years and years, and he was also very well educated in mysticism and things like that. He was Crowley's biggest fan, and I don't think Crowley had met him at the time even. He wrote the winning essay, which is a whole freaking book called The Star in the West. Okay. That's his literary review. And for years he was among, if not the first, of Crowley's formal AA students. He was the co-editor of the Equinox. Okay, he wrote the Treasure House of Images, which Crowley considers a Class A document. We love Captain Fuller, later General Fuller. Big military mind too, and a bit of a fascist, but British fascist, fascist with T. But I think this is what Crowley would really love to hear on his birthday. It's just one sentence that Captain Fuller said at the very beginning of his review. It has taken 100,000 years to produce Aleister Crowley. The world has indeed labored, and at last brought forth a man. Happy Greater Feast. Edward Alexander Crowley, Aleister Crowley, the Master Therian, Perturabo, the Beast 666, OM, Olsenu Faurasaji, no, it's Christios Peripsal. Christios Peripsal. Anyway, happy birthday, Uncle Al. We'll never completely understand you, but what we do understand, we have to, it has to come from ourselves, which is exactly, I think, what he would prefer. I'm a Crowley fan, for sure, but to tell you the truth, I'm not sure I would have gotten along with him personally. Anyway, until tomorrow, for the order of Monday morning, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.